What's up, y'all? It's your girl saying we are back with part 2 of the Jubilee video where it says, do women really have it harder? Male feminists versus anti-feminists. Let's get back into it.
Period pain is exaggerated.
Do not step forward. Do not step forward. Good. Good.
Okay. I'm glad no one stepped forward.
Good job. Good job.
I'm gonna change my mind.
All right, next prompt. Innocent men suffer because of feminism.
Yes, I agree with that. I said in another video, I'm not the girl that believe all women regardless. That's not me. Because growing up, I've seen a lot of men that I've known and have worked with get lied on. Women to be like, he arped me, he did this or that, and they going through all this stuff, and then luckily the girls came forward and was like, well, I was just lying because of X, Y, and Z because my feelings were hurt, and then there was no repercussions for the girl, like, at all. It was insane. So you grow up and you see that enough? No. And they were all innocent men, so yes.
So I think today in 2022, feminism has changed drastically.
It has.
And I think it's really turned into demonizing masculinity in men while promoting masculinity in women. And with that, good men are being pushed to the wayside and pushing parts of themselves down and not embracing their own masculinity because society is telling them that it's wrong.
100%. I think like anything that is deemed masculine is seen as now toxic. And I see it all over social media. You can't really say anything or do anything, especially even like against or even for yourself, without it being like some weaponized in some way or shape or form.
Yeah. It's a shame that feminism has become less about actual equality and more about supremacy. It's not about equal rights between men and women. It's about women being superior to men. And women don't even like it anymore.
The shade of the cameraman. This cameraman keeps panning to their faces every time they say something, especially this guy right here in the orange. Even when they're sitting together, somebody could be talking in his face, he's just like, they pan like right on it.
Anymore, right? I hear conversations with so many girls that are friends of mine. They're like, I hate what feminism has become because it makes me feel as if I'm a victim, and also too that men aren't supposed to be men anymore. It almost absolves us of the responsibilities that we have as males in society to be providers, to be protectors.
Right.
And innocent men suffer because we're made out to be toxic because we're fulfilling our roles as men in this world. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, and I mean, I disagree a little bit with saying that men have to be providers, but I think, you know, demonizing those men is part of the problem.
Yeah, you know, I would disagree a little bit, but I think also too, though, what we probably would agree on is that in a society that makes women feel as if they need to be more like men, all you get is really bad versions of men. And when you have men who are increasingly more feminine, you get men who aren't being men at all anymore. And I think like that's a huge societal problem, and we see the ripple effects and the consequences of that every single day.
And they're trying to effeminate men, basically. That's, yeah.
When I started hearing y'all talk, y'all have a huge misconception of even what feminism is.
Well,
the goal of feminism
explain
isn't
it
to
me then.
demasculate men.
But that's
The
what's
goal of
happening.
feminism is to fight for social, political, and economic equality for everyone,
Is
regardless
it
of
equality
your
of
race,
opportunity
gender.
or equality of outcome? Because it used to be equality of opportunity, and that's when I would say I would be a feminist.
But either
now
way,
it's become equality of
But
outcome.
either way, what y'all are talking about is feelings.
Right.
Y'all talking about, I don't like how women make me feel in society about crying, how women make me...
Well, the question
Hold on,
was
hold on,
about
hold on.
feelings.
Yeah.
No, hold on.
It was about are men affected,
Hold
that's
on.
feelings.
Yeah, but
So yes, that's the
but
conversation.
feminism itself is not about feeling. It's about, like you said, outcome. It's about the wage gap. It's about having...
This man said the wage gap, sir. There is none. There is none. It's a myth. It's not real. Oh man, he's brainwashed hard.
Access
Which doesn't
wage
exist,
gap?
by
What
the
wage
way,
gap?
right? But anyways,
Hold on.
I let you talk.
No, hold on. No, you didn't let me talk, though. Hold on. No, you didn't let me talk, though.
It's
Hold
about
on.
feelings, right? You don't want to talk about how men feel. Let's talk about how women feel. Let's talk about feminists.
Again, it's not
have
about
turned-
feelings, period.
how
That's my
feminists have
point.
turned
It's
on
not
other
about
women.
it's not about
have
feelings,
turned on
period.
other women.
Wait, can we have the prompt again?
Yeah, let's cut back to the prompt because it didn't have feelings.
Exactly.
Feelings.
Right.
It's about
Innocent men suffer because of
Oh,
what are you
feminism.
talking about?
And so
Yeah.
can I pose this question?
that is still about
on a
feelings, isn't
day on a day-by-day basis, do you think you're negatively affected by feminism?
100%.
Yeah.
120%.
And so
I really believe that.
No.
Can you
Because-
explain to me how on a day-by-day
Because
basis
it makes
this
them
affects your
feel
life negatively?
because again, masculinity has this mythical eligibility of power.
Wait.
When someone, feminist, what have you, challenges that, it feels like oppression to them. So
Yeah.
it feels
It's not-
like something is
it's
being
not
done.
challenging.
That's just my perception.
Yeah.
Feel free to disagree, but that's what it looks like
I'm
to
not
me.
oppressed, so I
That's what I'm
challenge
saying.
that perception. But also, too, to go back to your point about feminism, that may have been true with first-wave feminism, but with third-wave feminism, that is no longer
And I
the
would
case
even argue
anymore.
because
No, I
first wave
disagree.
feminism and third
Guys,
wave
bring it back
feminism.
to the prompt. And then also just, I love the ping-ponging, but just make sure we don't have 5 people talking on top of each other.
Isn't that the point of this? So they can all talk back and forth? Also, is Jubilee. Well, that the prompt was innocent men suffer because they do. They do. I don't know how it got into this though, but I mean, it's a good back and forth.
There's another side to this too. It's the patriarchy. And so that is what you are talking
They done said patriarchy like 50 billion times so far from this side, from the feminist side.
about. It is the pressure to be strong, the pressure to protect.
But in what ways is our society a patriarchy today? I know you said values, so I would want to get clarification on what you define a patriarchy.
So we should define patriarchy as a group, because I personally am still having a hard time defining it today because it is
So we're
so
talking.
Let's talk about the patriarchy. Yeah, let's talk about it. So, can you define that for me? Well, we should define it as a group because I have a hard time defining it myself. This is like the Vice panel debate with the women. This is like the feminists just kept throwing out buzzwords, and then Pearl and Sydney were just like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Why are you saying something if you don't know what it is? Like, you're saying something and you don't know the definition of it.
About something that
Patriarchy
you
is
can't
a
even
man-led
define.
society.
So, well, I'll try and define. Do you want me to try?
Yeah,
and
let's
define?
do it
In a
together.
broader spectrum, I'd say patriarchal is the societal structure that we have set up that's kind of, what's the word, sociological values of how we set up a hierarchy in our society.
But
And
a
so it's
patriarchy
not
is
a
defined
little.
by, you know, where men are in charge and hold power.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that, I'm,
Wait,
I'm-
wait,
I'm
wait,
not
wait.
saying
Suffering
that it's,
from
it's a
patriarchy,
literal,
then
it's a
men
literal
suffer
thing where
from-
there's some document that somebody wrote where it said men are in charge, women are second. It is a set of sociologial values that you see
So we're
across
changing the
society.
definition of patriarchy,
Well,
which is
from the-
fine. I just want to make sure we're on the same
I'm telling
page.
you,
As a
that's
group
what my
now,
definition
yeah.
is. I didn't say there was a set
But that's
definition.
I'm just telling you what my definition is. Because I do research stuff for y'all, I'm going to show you what the definition is. Okay, so we're going to read this along together so we as an audience know what patriarchy means, because I just had 2 people on the side of feminism be like, I don't know what it means. The other one was like, well, I just made up a definition. Okay, patriarchy. A system of society or government in which the father or eldest male is head of the family and descent is traced through the male line. Okay, there we go. Here's another part of it. A system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it. A society or community organized on all patriarchal lines. So now we all know what patriarchy means, because I wanted to put that there because 2 people, you had one that couldn't define it and another one was like, well, that's what I think it is. It's like, if you're going to argue for something, because they're the only side that keeps throwing that word out there, please know what it means. That's all I'm asking, is like, at least know what you are arguing for. Please don't just throw buzzwords around and you don't know what the buzzwords are. We're going to get back to the video.
But
I'm
that's
not
a
a
red
theorist.
herring.
That's
you know.
how
So
I
are
define
we
it.
saying we're not in a patriarchal society?
No, I don't believe
Not
we
in
are today.
2020.
So the whole idea that our country is an oppressive patriarchy, it just really gets under my skin because nobody's able to actually tell me what that is. Well, by definition, the patriarchy would be a society where men have power over women and women don't have a voice. And in today's society, that's just not true. Obviously, some people have power over others, but in our society, that has more to do with economic status than actual sex.
So going back to the
Facts.
prompt, right? The prompt is innocent men feel attacked
I don't even
by
think it was
feminism.
Suffer.
Suffer
They
from
suffer.
Yeah,
feminism,
attack
right?
is-
So
yeah.
If you make a mistake, you should be held accountable to that mistake.
Absolutely.
Now with the forms of internet coming out and communication going everywhere, y'all are talking about feeling attacked for being able to say certain things or not.
Not attacked.
If you
I just
are-
think that psychologically,
It
that
does
some
suffer.
innocent men do suffer from
But I
the
would say they
narratives that
also
are pushed from
suffer
feminism.
if you're speaking about laws. I think feminism has changed a lot of laws
Like
that
what?
now all are women beneficiaries. So if you look at divorce courts, if you look at family courts, if you look at abortion, if you look at a whole host of laws, all of them are women primary. Men are heavily affected by those.
Going back
So
to-
I disagree actually on that. I don't actually agree on the whole loss stuff. But just going back to like the prompt on the suffering thing, I do think that you have to be aware that a man can't just go and say whatever they want.
Right.
Where a
Nobody
female
can.
can't.
Should they be
That
able
is,
to?
that is
Nobody
not true.
can.
A female can say a lot more than a man can, especially online, on social media, on the internet.
but a man
There's a
can
lot
also
of rape.
physically do
There's
a
been a
lot more
rape
than
threat
women
made,
can do in society
and a woman
too,
said
right?
no one can
that's
judge an eye.
biological,
Cancel
that's
culture
not-
doesn't come in. But if a man
No,
said that same
no,
thing,
I
they would
don't
get
agree.
canceled immediately. I believe men today are really weak. Mostly they're lazy, and I feel like there's no courage. I feel like men today are okay with being losers, and I mean more men need to stand up for what they truly believe in, and I feel like there's not enough.
You know what's funny about him saying this? There's a book called Hagakure, and in that book, it was written by a samurai, basically. And this is like whatever the time period for it. Actually, let me look it up real quick, because I can't remember the exact time period, but I know if it was written by a samurai. Okay, just a quick search. All I could find on it, it was published in 1716, but this is a collection of commentaries from the samurai, but this is like centuries prior to that, so like years, whatever. So basically in there, in Hagakure, he states that men are becoming more effeminate now. So it just seems like every generation notices that the men are becoming weaker and weaker. So when you have this guy up here saying like men are weaker, they're losers now, blah blah blah, this has been a thing for like ever. Every generation says that. So we get to the point of like the men we have now. So imagine a samurai looking at the other men in line that want to be samurais, and he's calling them like weak and effeminate because now they starting to care about fashion. They trying to make sure they look good because they want to get women. But they also trying to be samurais, and he's just like, oh, what are y'all doing? That's what you trying to be girls now? Who cares about how you look, right? we get all things. You hear stuff from like your grandparents where they're just like, I remember when men used to do this and do that versus the men nowadays. So this has been a thing like historically going on for like ever.
Back to the prompt, do innocent men suffer from feminism? I think look at with this entire Johnny Depp, Amber Heard situation that happened this past year. You have all of these feminists rushing to the camp to defend Amber Heard, and then all those things come out during that trial, and people are like, maybe Johnny Depp isn't the horrible guy that we thought he was, right? So
Yeah.
that is an example of feminism radicalizing these people to just be like, I'm gonna be anti-male, and I'm gonna go root against this guy. But to the point
how
of
did
the
that turn out?
political...
How is Johnny
Wait,
Depp
wait,
a
wait,
victim
guys,
of
we
the
have
system?
like
He
30,
had his
we
day
have
in
30
court.
seconds left on this prompt, so just finish your thought.
But yeah, but also to Brett Kavanaugh, big example there. You have all these allegations that come up when he's going to be the Supreme Court justice that never came up before.
Right, exactly.
What did that do as far as enable people who have fake accusations to say, I'm going to ride the coattails of the Me Too movement and ruin innocent man's life?
Really quick though,
That
where's
is
Brett
wrong.
Kavanaugh right now? He's on the Supreme Court.
He's on the Supreme Court.
Well, that's
Thank
crazy.
God,
And
because
then
Truth
Johnny
won the
Depp,
day.
was he
Because Truth
convicted
won
of
the
a
day.
crime?
Because
you
Truth
still
won the
suffer.
day.
But that's the point.
He
So,
won
like,
in
yeah,
spite of
suffering
feminism.
does not
not
equal
There's a
because of it.
pendulum. And
That guy in the orange, man. Not the black guy, but the white guy in the orange. I don't think he gets it. It's like, do you not realize that the whole, what did I say at the very beginning of this prompt? When you have the whole, believe all women regardless. Innocent men can suffer because of that. Because that is feminine. That was a product of feminism. And he's just like, oh, but they won, right? They won. Luckily, they won. You know how many men don't win or get convicted off of lies? We just saw Gervonta Davis went to jail, and his baby mama was just like, oh yeah, I lied about that because I was angry. And then they brought him back out before his fight. Like, and then there's like no consequences for these women. And it's really frustrating because women that then actually do have to deal with domestic abuse in art now know, but it's like hard for people to believe them because you have so many women that just fake it and lie because they know they'll be believed regardless. Okay. Well,
And for a really long time,
don't
people
get it.
weren't called out for things, people weren't held
don't get
accountable.
it.
So now, yeah, the pendulum's swinging. Maybe there are going to be some false accusations and stuff going too far. I would rather have 1 million false accusations, like over 1 million people that deserve to be in jail not being in jail. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I'd rather people go
What?
through false. You'd rather have 1 million people that
agree
are
to
guilty
disagree.
on the streets than a
Than have
million
a
people
million-
that are not guilty have to go through a trial.
I would
All
rather
right,
have.
reset.
why won't she just let them finish? Ugh.
Women are fit to be president.
That really just depends on the woman, because we saw, it was like Italy or France, a couple months ago, a woman actually became like the head over there, whatever they call it. I don't know if they call it presidents or whatever. She actually became the head over there, and she was so dope. Their version of Democrats and stuff did not like her. But she was running that. She was running it smooth, and she got on a lot of liberals' nerves in that part of the world. So it really just depends on the woman, for real, for real.
I mean, really, this is a no-brainer
Yeah,
for me.
right. Yeah, I think that this is. I expected this to be unanimous, but I think this will probably be the biggest agreement amongst the group today. I think that anyone who's born in America above the age of 35 that's not a felon, you can be president.
Right, and I think a lot of times in these conversations we focus on the differences between men and women, but just, based off of studies, men and women are very similar creatures. I mean, we're the same species, we think the same on most levels, and to say that a woman can't do the same job as a man, to me, is completely regressive. Now, I consider myself an anti-feminist today, but this is the type of question that I would be a feminist for 50 years ago. To me, it should be a unanimous, thing stepping forward, but I look forward to hearing what they have to say.
I think eligibility and optimal option is the difference. I think a woman can be eligible to be president. I think is it the optimal situation? No. I would kind of disagree with you where you say men and women are generally the same. I think we're completely different in the way that we process information, the way that we make choices, the way that we build society. Men are very hierarchical in nature, so it's very merit-oriented. I think women are a little bit more communitarianism or communism. That's the word I'm looking for.
Communism.
Communistic.
You mean
where-
community-based?
Community-based, right. Thank you.
please.
Where everybody gets one. So you get one, you get one. It's not really based on output, which I think is good in some cases, but I think in a general scheme of building a structure of government, I would say having it more merit-based, very capitalistic, where you go out, you work for your living, you provide for your family. I think that's the way that men typically build society.
So even a woman whose worldview aligns with yours, you don't think that she would be fit to be president, even if every single view she has aligns
right,
with
like I
yours?
said, she could be fit, but is it the optimal situation?
But why would she?
Right.
So is the only reason she's not optimal because she's a woman?
I would say it's not optimal because God called men to be the leaders of society.
So again, you keep going back to God, and we keep
Yes.
trying to center Christianity as like the know-all, end-all. What about all the religions that had female goddesses and
Well, as a okay, they're not religious, but it's like if you're religious, you're supposed to go hard for your religion. So my man is gonna say they're wrong. He better say they're wrong.
matriarchal
We also,
system?
I mean, we also don't have
Right.
to sidestep Christianity as if there were not any female leaders in the Bible either.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna go for my reason why. I think it was in London, and it's before their current prime minister. I'm forgetting her name, but she was their mayor for about 2 months, and she ran away. She pretty much resigned, was done with it. And I do personally think that women are more emotional beings. We are not
That's
similar.
not who I
It's
was
actually
talking
not
about,
factually
though.
true. There are big differences between us, and those differences are very vast on the spectrum,
so
but we are a lot more similar in the way we process information.
I was just trying to finish.
Yeah, but women usually are more emotional than men. Like, don't get me wrong, you got trash dudes out there too. But the way we lead with feelings versus how a man leads with feelings is pretty different. It is pretty different. I remember my last job. I'm telling you, I could be blunt and honest with the guys, and they'd be like, "All right, I got you." I could be the same way with certain women on the team, and they would just be like, "I can't believe she talked to me like that." It's like, bro, I was just telling you what it was. Dang, no trouble. I'm not yelling at you. Like, what is this? Too emotional.
Finish what I was saying. I was pretty much like trying to go to the point of feminism has created, especially Western women, to be more emotional, more erratical on like their decision making, and more like just more emotionally charged. And that's where I brought up the London thing, where I feel like that's a good example of that happening, where the pressure got to him. Resigning is coward to me, like being a coward.
So has a male president ever resigned?
I'm not sure, but
Richard, if I can interject.
But Richard Nixon, it was because he was getting put into crime. Like that was a
so it's like double.
Yeah, so
that's not better. That's worse.
Matter.
So if I can interject, so you're kind of using this one anecdotal evidence of like, oh, this one woman got in office. Are you aware of all of history? Because like literally, men led pretty much every nation. I'd say about 99% of nations forever. So like, yeah, all the good things that have happened from nations, sure, you can attribute that to the men. Every bad thing is also attributed to men. I'm not using this as an argument to say men are.
Well, it's gonna be like that. If men built the world, my guy, that's such a bad example. If men built the majority of everything, then yeah, I guess when some bad stuff happens, it's gonna be on them. It's not gonna be on the women.
Bad and shouldn't be leaders. What I'm saying is you can point to any person that did a bad job, and then you can latch onto their gender and say that's a reason why that gender shouldn't do something. It's not a good example.
That's the
it doesn't
point.
make any sense.
But I do want to go back to you saying a woman as a leader and how some of those things might not be fit to be president.
Right.
I think that when we talk about a lot of the problems men are facing, a woman being president could actually help some of those, especially in facilitating a society where talking about your feelings is more accepted. I do believe in a 100% merit-based society, which is why I believe that anybody, man or woman, gay or straight, black or white, can be president if they have the merit to be so. But I think that to say that just because a woman makes some decisions differently would somehow have a negative impact on society is all just based off of assumption, when it could actually have a very positive one.
The gender pay gap is real.
Alrighty, this whole group over here, all four of them are going to walk forward. I don't think any of them are going to walk forward.
I agree that the pay gap is real.
Wait. In part one, this guy in the green jacket said the pay gap is not real. But now he's stepping forward and says the gender pay gap is real? Sir, you just contradicted yourself.
But I don't agree with the studies that a lot of people use to say that it's solely based because of being a woman, rather than taking into account career preference, time taken off, the actual way you do your job.
Oh, that's why you
there's a lot of other
forward.
variables
Yeah, I agree with all that too.
that go into these studies, and a lot of times I see the feminist movement say, oh, if you're a woman, you're going to make less than a man, and it's just a lot more complex than that.
So I agree that it's a nuanced conversation, so there's like two things that I want to put on. My dad, right, do you think my dad raised my brother and I and my sister the same?
Obviously not. No, I would hope not.
Well, yeah, but like in the sense
You're a
that
man
my
and your sister's
dad
a woman.
pushed me into different things than he pushed my sister towards. I think women are raised in a way where they're not encouraged to pursue their interests. And now we're starting to get to a generation where I think that might happen, but it's going to take some time. But then the second one is going to be that you get what you negotiate. And this is, I can only give personal experience again. My dad has worked in HR of a company. They offer men more at the start than they do women because men are more likely to negotiate anyways. Women are more likely to take the first thing that is offered.
That's true, yeah.
And that is the thing where they take advantage of the fact that they know women feel uncomfortable in a male-dominated space. So you're going to get a job interview. You're getting interviewed by a man. Everyone you saw when you walked in, for the most part, was a man. And then they offer you a salary. You're going to be a little bit less likely to push back.
But that's
and
not
that's
on
my
the,
personal
that's-
experience.
But that's not on the company in that example. That's on the women, unfortunately, right? They have to be their own best advocate. They have to stand up for themselves. They have to negotiate better. You look at
Or you
this
can just
issue.
pay them more.
When you look at
But
Right,
based
like-
on
Wait,
what,
but when you look at this
Equality?
issue of the gender wage gap, also too, it's the narrative that surrounds it is absolutely factually untrue.
Well, here's the thing. What he was saying, what the company does. If you find out that's happening, you got a lawsuit on your hands. You can take them to court, and you're guaranteed to win if you know that's what's happening to you. That's why that's illegal now. You're not really supposed to be doing that. But in terms of women don't negotiate and ask for pay raises and things of that nature, that is also true. They don't. That's how I got to my last position, my job. I was just like, hey, so how do I do what you're doing? How do I run this department? Oh, you want to know how to do this? Cool. Let's get you all set up and get you trained. That was it. That's all it was. It was that simple. I worked with men and women, and they were trying to make it like a race and gender thing. And it's like, how's it? I'm a girl. I got up here. So how do you factor that in? Well, you're not really black. It's like, what? So what are you talking about?
Looking at the average income or salaries of men and the average incomes of women, and obviously there's gonna be a difference. Men and women choose to do different things. Like you said, men tend to dominate higher paying industries, higher paying careers. Women tend to go do other things.
I also think that there is a level of preservation that is omitted in these types of conversations. You guys say it's nature, right? I have 2 daughters. If I push my daughters into a male-dominated space, bricklaying or something like that, who are my kids gonna have to work around? Are they gonna have to endure locker room talk? Those are things that are real things that I'm gonna have to entertain in my thought process when I decide where I'm gonna push my child. So that's why I'm saying it's not just nature. There are
Bruh, I worked in so many male-dominated fields. Whatever you're trying to push right now, it's not that deep, okay? Like, it's not that deep. You want to push your girls to do like more jobs that men would do so they get paid more, whatever, cool, do that. I also was the girl that was super into STEM, right? Science, technology, engineering, math. I loved all of that. Like, bro, you grow up around guys, you just gonna end up hearing it. It's like, oh, that's just how guys talk, okay? Like, as long as they ain't talking to your daughters a certain way and feeling on them and making them, that's different, right? There's a certain level of talk where,
I agree.
There are societal things in place that put women at a deficit when it comes to making money.
If a woman feels intimidated, that's on her. Like, that is on her. She needs to fight it. And I don't believe the wage gap exists because you're given the same opportunity to earn the money. The fact that you don't fight for your salary or don't fight for the wage because you feel uncomfortable, it's on you.
Yeah, that's
at the end of the day, it's on you.
problem.
If you go in and you're applying for a job and you feel intimidated and then they say, oh, we're gonna pay you minimum wage, and you agree to it when you know you should be earning like $20 or $30 or whatever, it's on you. You can't cry about it and say, oh, this is because men dominate.
Wait,
Well, so-
I'm sorry, can I
Go ahead,
interject?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so it's on the woman that she feels intimidated, right? That's kind of the
Yes.
paramount. So then,
that is on them though. At the end of the day, nobody's gonna care about you like you care about you. You have to be your biggest advocate. That's really all this boils down to. If you know you nice and you got the skill set and you can do what you're supposed to do, yes, negotiate. Do what you're supposed to do. I've had females that have worked in HR stuff tell me and other women that they like, hey, do what you gotta do, negotiate this, how you get through, yada yada yada. You hop in an interview with all that confidence and you doing exactly what you gotta do, they'll offer it to you. It's not like they're not going to. And if they don't, go to the next interview. It's like, it's not like, oh man, I have to get this one job. There's a bazillion jobs out there.
and is that the same when it comes to like once you're actually hired and once you are the energy or the environment that you work in as well?
Yeah.
So
100%.
so the company has no responsibility to make a safe work environment or anything like that?
I never said that.
I'm asking
Bro,
you.
we talking about gender pay gap, and you like, so it's not in the company to make a safe work environment? What are you talking about now, my guy?
He
I
did
said
just
feeling
ask that.
intimidated is not the same as being intimidated or being constantly pushed to be, like, intimidate. You know what I mean? Like, if I were to you and go, yo, I'm gonna hit you, or yo,
No,
you know what I mean?
I wouldn't
Or,
say
like,
that. The idea that women are tasked with their own social context and creating the environments for themselves that they want to operate within, even though they are continually stripped of power, is infuriating and is disrespectful.
Sir, I'm not stripped of power, okay? I worked many a jobs and I've moved up. Because I think, like, how I would assume you, or at least the dudes on the anti-feminist side, would act at a job and advocate for themselves to move up and make more and stuff. Like, what are you talking about?
Respectful. It echoed the sentiment of black people keeping themselves down because of the acknowledgement of racism.
Where did that come from? Bro, we're not even talking about race. We're not. You just do that down and you know what this reminds me of? When they say black people keep themselves down, it's like racism. It's like, what are you talking about?
I think we'd all agree, teachers, nurses, medical professionals, objectively important jobs for the fabric of society.
In the United States.
And we clearly undervalue these industries that are women dominant. Do you think that that's just a coincidence?
No, where I would agree with you is I do think that teachers and nurses should make more money, but that doesn't factor into the point that there is a pay gap, because if a man goes to be a teacher, he's still going to get paid the same amount as a woman.
All right,
So it
let's
doesn't
take a
really
job.
matter.
Let's take a job where men and women both participate. Like World Cup's going on right now. Look at the U.S. American men's team and the women's team.
This is a horrible example to use because when the women first negotiated their terms, they were like, you guys can have whatever you want, and they negotiated their own terms, and they were happy with that until they found out what the men negotiated for themselves. Then it was like, that's not fair. We want what they want, and now it's turned into this, to where they get paid when the men win at a certain level, they get a piece of their earnings. Bruh, that's a horrible example.
Team is also significantly more skilled than the women's team and brings in a bigger
and more
audience.
people watch
Skilled
it.
how?
More people
They
watch
play
it. Do you think people that play in the
But they don't-
WNBA should be making the same thing as NBA players?
I
Exactly.
don't
But they
think
should be getting the
NBA
same
or
share.
WNBA players should be
same-
making
That's
more
not
than
my
teachers.
question.
That's not my
and
question.
doctors.
In 2022, women are not victims. But yet we live in a society that glorifies being a victim, glorifies being oppressed, glorifies people feeling bad for you, when honestly, all it does is, again, it provides another disservice to the people that are these so-called victims.
All right, we're gonna end it here. This is the end of part 2. Honestly, part 3 should really be the end of it because it looks like there's 1, 2, 3. It's only 3 more prompts left. So we're gonna end it here. I hope to see y'all next time. Until then, make sure you put your notifications on. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe so you never miss when I drop a video because you already know who it is. It's Sam.